There are many barriers to success in college and beyond. The authors of a college health assessment found that 17.3% of students reported being diagnosed or treated for a chronic illness or medical condition in the past 12 months. Surveying over 35,000 students on 48 campuses, common conditions included asthma, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, gastrointestinal diseases, and chronic pain. The American College Health Association reported that chronic illness was frequently cited as a reason for missed classes, difficulty concentrating, and lower academic productivity. In this episode of Catholics on Campus, we are going to take a deep dive into what happens when you are facing a lingering illness that disrupts every area of your life. My guest today, Heidi Kennedy, has an incredible story to share with you. I met Heidi through Metanoia Catholic, where we both received our Catholic Mindset Coaching certification. Heidi lives in upstate New York and is becoming a sought after coach who is helping people overcome chronic pain, anxiety, and depression. Heidi, welcome to Catholics on Campus. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll start there.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much for the introduction and for having me. Yes, as you mentioned, my name is Heidi Kennedy. I live in rural Western upstate New York. I am married for 5 years, 5.5, and I am a cradle Catholic, but I would say that I didn't have the greatest catechesis growing up, so it wasn't until college that I learned about the true presence in the Eucharist. And for me, it was like walking through the wardrobe into Narnia before college versus after in what my faith life looked like. So I love I love our Catholic faith. It's been very, very transformational in my life.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. I know you have an amazing backstory, and I want to give you a chance to tell us about that. So tell us how you got to where you are today.
Yes, yeah. So currently, as you mentioned, I'm a certified mindset coach through Untied Catholic. And the reason that I'm even doing this work is because I lived with debilitating chronic back pain, anxiety, and depression for 13 years. It
Mhm.
started when I was way back in high school. I was a junior in high school. I was very active beforehand, like did volleyball and dance and would ride my bike for fun. And then all of a sudden, one day in gym class, I just started having severe back pain and I never recovered after that. I was bedridden for quite a few months. I went to all sorts of doctors, all sorts of testing, blood scan, bone test, MRI, x ray, more blood work. I did all sorts of treatments for it, everything from pelvic floor physical therapy to generalized physical therapy, acupuncture, kinesiology, massage therapy. I tried prescribed medications. I had a failed surgery. I tried so many things, Virginia, and nobody could figure out what was going on. So this started when I was a junior in high school. I commuted to a nearby college. Got through 2.5 years there, but my quality of life was just so poor. I was pacing back and forth in the back of class. I was so uncomfortable. I couldn't even really sit. I was having to lay down on my back to do homework and like hold a textbook above my head to read it. And so that was just not, I just couldn't, I couldn't function anymore. I couldn't handle that. So I withdrew from college, and the next decade was spent figuring out like what is going on here. And I could not get answers. Like nobody could tell me what was causing this back pain. I also learned I have PCOS and endometriosis, which are really painful period issues. Like you have cramping and just is very incredibly painful. So on top of all my chronic back pain, I now had this like hormonal issue going on. So I just kind of survived. I did not thrive. I was literally in survival mode. I had no job, no college degree, just very little to look forward to in life. I literally thought I was just going to die in pain. So that was where I was at. That was the mindset I was in. And it wasn't until I was working with a therapist at the time. This was in fall of 2023. And she was like, "Well, Heidi, you have psychosomatic pain disorder." I had never heard of that, Virginia.
Hmm.
I didn't know what it was. Psychosomatic just means psyche means brain, soma means body. So it's just saying there's a mind body connection going on. We see this like when we're really stressed about something, like our neck might get really tight, or when we're nervous because we're going to give a speech or do a presentation, like we'll get butterflies or an upset stomach. If we're grieving the loss of a loved one, we'll maybe get back pain. And so we see this psychosomatic connection all the time, but I wasn't aware even that that was what was happening with me. And so when my therapist explained that, A, I did not take it well to begin with. I was in a very dark place. and I just wasn't in a place to receive it yet. But she recommended a book, When the Body Says No by Gabor Maté. He's a leading world famous mind body expert. I read that book and it was like, oh my goodness, this is what has been causing my back pain, this psychosomatic issue. What's causing that? These repressed emotions. And so all of a sudden things were starting to click into place. So this was fall of 2023. And then in January of 2024, so just a few months later, after I read the book and was told that I have psychosomatic pain, I took a nervous system regulation healing course. And this course was what changed the trajectory of my life. It was a 30-day program. It was a 5-pillar approach: mindset, rest and digest, nutrition, detox, and movement. But the number one thing that was the focus was mindset, because you could do all the other things. You could eat the perfect diet and do the perfect exercise routine. But if you're doing it from a place of I'm ill, I'm sick, I'm broken, you're never going to heal, because that becomes your identity. Your identity is ill, sick, and broken. You can't heal. And so the woman teaching the course, Kate Murphy, highly recommend her. She let everyone know like mindset is the number one thing. Focus on that, and that will affect everything else. And so I did that, Virginia. I focused on my mindset. And in 30 days, I went from everything I just described, laying on that couch, miserable, no quality of life, to I'm healed. Like I'm where I'm at today. I'm up and walking around. I'm normal. I have a business. Like my life is completely, completely different after I learned how to heal. Praise be to God. It's amazing.
Thanks be to God.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow, that is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's,
Very welcome.
yeah. So knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh my goodness. Multiple things. I would love to tell my younger self that it's okay if you don't feel called to a certain job or career. Like it doesn't mean you're broken or that there's something wrong with you. So I mentioned I did go to college for a couple of years. I was undeclared, and I literally only declared a major because you had to at the start of your junior year of college. So total honesty here, I literally went on the college website and just looked through the list of majors and just picked business administration because I already had a few with the gen eds for that. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting. Like business is cool. But I would tell myself, like, it's okay. Like you don't have to do the traditional like physical therapy or medical doctor or, accounting. That's wonderful if you feel called to that, but it doesn't mean you're broken if you don't. And so knowing now what I know, like after I took that 30-day healing course, I all of a sudden was like, I just want to help people, Virginia. Like I was so on fire. I wanted to share this information. I was still working with my therapist, and she said, you'd probably make a great Catholic health coach. I didn't even know what that was. Went home, typed into Google, what does a health coach do? The description that came up, I was like, oh, nutrition, like I'm not interested in that. No way. I scrolled down on the same page and it said life coach and it gave a description. I read that and I was like, this is me. Oh my gosh. It was like Holy
Mm,
Spirit, God, like bolt of lightning into me. Like I just felt so called to do this work. And so don't feel bad if you don't fit into like the typical PhD after your name type thing like that. That's okay. Like there's so many other options out there.
100%. And I do think students get hung up on picking the right degree. I'm
Mhm.
like, just get a degree. Like
Yeah.
you can go on and do many other things with all kinds of degrees, but you want to follow your passion. You want to follow something that's going to light you up every day. And I can see the coaching really lit you up. So I know one of the things you talk about is that self compassion is really key to the healing that you experienced. So, in addition to leaning into your faith, tell us about how you develop this healing mindset.
Mhm. So this was taught in the nervous system regulation healing course that I took. That was a very big piece of it. In addition to the mindset, and I'm speaking so much from experience here, if we approach ourselves as I used to, of like, I'm ill, I'm broken, there's something wrong with me. I was like a taskmaster pointing my finger at myself, like, you're broken, you're ill, and you need to get better now. There was this just really harsh way of looking at myself. And when we approach ourselves in that manner of it's like a perfectionistic way of looking at ourselves. Now, yes, we all want to be perfect like Christ and he's our model, but when we have a perfectionistic mindset, it leaves no room for the human being. Like
Mm,
we're not perfect human beings. And so the perfectionistic mindset really unhelpful. It goes hand in hand with like lack of self-compassion, right? It's a decision. You can choose to have self-compassion. When you have self-compassion for yourself, one of the best ways to think about it is what would you say to a friend if your friend was going through everything you were going through and she was having a tough time? Are you going to scold her for crying? Are you going to scold her for having difficulties? My guess would be no, right?
Right, right,
But
right.
that's not how you would approach her. You'd approach her probably with self-compassion. So can you take that self-compassion and give that to yourself? And the reason it's so important and so impactful is because when you give yourself self-compassion, it is like a healing antidote to your nervous system because your nervous system can now feel like, okay, oh, big sigh of relief. I can rest now. I can come back into a state of regulation. I can now heal because I'm not having to like hold myself, oh my gosh, I'm being attacked by this taskmaster, perfectionistic thing. When you have self compassion, it is so healing and it is truly the healing mindset that will take you forwards.
Thank you. And what is your approach now to health and well-being? And how does your current approach differ from compared back in college days?
Yeah, so I look back at that and I have learned to have more self-compassion for myself back then, but in college I just truly didn't understand that we are integrated human beings. Like that's how God created us. So there's mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and all of those are important. And so when you ignore one of them or you're not doing well in one of them, if you picture like a three-legged stool, you take one leg away, right? It totters and falls. And so I didn't even know that mental and emotional health was a thing exactly back in college. Like I was aware of it, but I didn't realize what a mess I was living in myself. It's like, right, when you're too close to something, like you can't see it. That's kind of where I was at. I was just like, well, I just gotta survive. I just gotta survive. And I was not truly understanding like, wow, I'm dealing with pretty severe depression here. I was working with a different therapist at the time. I literally told her, I don't have depression. I told her that. And she was very kind, very calm. And she read down through the list of depressive symptoms. And I checked so many of them. I checked so many of them, but it was almost like I was in denial. And so, how do I differ now from back then? Now I have an awareness like, yeah, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, they're all important. And when we can take care of all of them, that is when you truly do experience an integrated life and the most wholeness, the most healing, when you can approach yourself from a self compassionate way and from looking at all of those things together as part of your health and who that makes you up as a human being.
Thank you for that. How did you lean into the spiritual side? You said you didn't have the best catechesis early on. So, how did that come about for you?
Yeah. So I went to church. I went to mass every Sunday, but I didn't realize the true presence in the Eucharist until I went to college. So when I went to college, like I mentioned, it was literally like I was walking through the wardrobe into Narnia. Like all of a sudden, I was in this big, beautiful, colorful world full of almost magic seeming,
Mm,
beautiful, enchanting. Like, oh my gosh, like Jesus is really present in the Eucharist. And like, look at the saints. And like, oh, that's why we do that in Mass. And this is why we say this prayer. And that's why. And so leaning into the faith part. So it was like a multifaceted approach, like so many things. So I had my now husband, boyfriend at the time, Paul is his name. So Paul was instrumental in just sharing the faith with me. He had a really beautiful background, understanding and very grounded in the faith. And he could explain the why behind or the what behind the why, maybe. Like he could explain the reasoning for many different things. I learned about church history a lot from him and from other friends and just some just some basic tenets of the Catholic faith that I'd never been taught. And it was so beautiful to lean into that. I also worked with a priest at the time, Father Bernard. I called him one of his nicknames is Father B. And he was really helpful. I just would sit down with him and I don't know if I maybe like once a month or so, kind of spiritual direction, but I was mostly just like, can you explain the faith to me? Or, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me? So it was kind of like counseling, spiritual direction, catechesis all in one. So it was definitely a multifaceted approach. And Father B was also the one that helped me to learn how to pray and actually have a relationship with God. So it was my friends, it was my now husband, it was the priest, and of course just the grace of God to be able to do it all. Definitely Holy Spirit led. Just to
beautiful.
that.
I know that you received this message, just be yourself. So, tell us how you got that message and describe how it inspired you to build this new life for yourself.
Yes. So I went to Dr. Greg Bottaro, or if not familiar with him, he is the founder of Catholic Psych, which is it's like Catholic psychology meets spiritual direction meets catechesis. Like it's this beautiful program that he has. So Dr. Greg Bottaro had a Catholic Psych conference this past summer, and one of the speakers was Father Columba Jordan. I had never heard of him before, but I don't know if you're familiar. Are you familiar?
I
Yeah,
watch his videos all the
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Highly recommend him for any of your listeners. He's got a beautiful Irish accent and he's got wit. He's just got this really wonderful priestly charism about him. So he was one of the speakers at this conference that I went to back in June. And Father Benedict Rochelle was very famous, like EWTN priest and whatnot. And Father Benedict Rochelle had talked to Father Columba Jordan, like Father Columba Jordan got to meet him in person before Father Rochelle passed away. But Father Rochelle, he's a very short little man, kind of softer spoken, and he was talking to a group of the novitiates that were going to then join, like take their final vows. And his advice in his little Father Benedict Rochelle voice was just be yourself. There's a little bit of a list to it. Just be yourself. And Father Columba Jordan, he shared this story and then he talked about what just being yourself looks like. And it
Mm,
sounds so cliche, like, oh yeah, just be yourself. But truly, like, what would you be? How would you act? How would you show up in your life if you were actually just yourself? Like, if you
mm.
didn't care what other people think, if you weren't concerned about society, if you weren't scared of, oh, well, somebody might react this way, like, if you just put all that aside, like, how would you show up in your life? Who would you be if you would truly be yourself? And then Father Columba Jordan is like, can you give yourself permission to be yourself? Like, what excites you? So, example, Virginia, I had a client, she's finished working with me, but she has many similar interests to what I have. And she was viewing it, she shared, she's like, I just feel kind of weird. I have this interest in literature and books and like nervous system work and essential oils. And I listened to her share these and I was like, oh, that's me. Like those are a lot of my same interests. And she was like, oh, there's something wrong with me. And I shared with her, I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. Like maybe you just haven't found your community yet, or maybe you haven't been able to connect with people that share your same interests, but if you could just be yourself, like tap into that because that's where your energy, like you'll be excited. Like people, right? You said to me, like, you're excited to talk about this stuff. I am because it's made such a difference in my life. So could you imagine if you found that in your life? Could you let God work through you to use your God given gifts, skills, and talents to then be excited about what is it? Like, allow the Holy Spirit to work through you in that way. Just
Yeah.
be yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. I love that. I absolutely love that. And you actually got to talk with Father Columba. I'm a huge
Yeah.
fan of his. So, and I think if any listeners to my podcast will know, like I cover all kinds of topics. It's been very eclectic so far. And can't say I'm like honed in on one particular thing, but I've always been like that. That's me being me, I suppose. So I really appreciate that. So one last question I have for you here before we move on to kind of a lightning round is have you always embraced this uniqueness and shared it with others?
No,
Mm,
absolutely, absolutely not. I remember I kind of touched on it a bit, but I remember thinking in college, like even before college, your junior and senior year, you're like going through the application process and everyone's asking you like, what are your plans? And you're like, I don't know. Like, that was me. I didn't have a draw to go to college. I didn't have a career I was working towards. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. At that point, I was also very sick. I was just trying to survive. So
mm,
I was not living in a place where I was embracing my uniqueness. And one of the things that it's actually been more of a recent discovery than just within the past couple of months is I'm full of joy. And I was living like I was trying to suppress that. It's no wonder my back was bothering me, right? Your body speaks to you through symptoms. And it was like I was trying to almost contain that joy because I was afraid of what other people might think. Like I talk really fast, I get excited, I talk with my hands. Not everybody likes that, or not everybody's like that, but that's okay. So in the past, no, I did not do that. Where I'm at now, I just went to the Scent conference a couple of weeks ago. It's a Catholic business conference, Virginia, and everyone there is Catholic first. They're business people, and then they integrate it together. And going to that was like you could bring your whole self to the conference. Everybody there was just excited, and it was this beautiful community. And it was kind of like a culmination of all this year's work of stuff I've done. Like, yeah, just be yourself. Like, just be yourself. So where I'm at now, I'm tapping into that, and I am truly just bringing the joy. And what's interesting is that when
mm.
I started doing this, it's almost comical. I get people that say, "You have so much joy." Like it is a comment I receive very, very,
Yeah.
very regularly, like very regularly. And now where I'm at, I'm getting to the point where I can receive that and say, thank you so much, and turn people to point to Jesus through that. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I just kept trying to repress it and be like, oh, I'm weird. Like people are going to think I'm like too energetic. But no, like truly just be yourself and embrace your uniqueness. And what do you feel called to pursue or to work on? Like, right. I used to think all the saints, they're just saints, but look at them, like Saint Colorocutus, right? He was a lay person. We have saints that are married. We have saints that have children. We have saints that lived in monasteries. They're all so different. We have Saint Mother Teresa, right? Worked with the poor. Saint Padre Pio was in a monastery. And so just be yourself and
Mhm.
and allow God to work through that. We're all called to sainthood, but we're not all called to be the same saint. So allow yourself to truly, truly ask God, God, what are my God-given gifts, skills, and talents? And
Yeah.
embrace your uniqueness in that way.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for that. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Well, I want to kind of wrap up with a few
Mhm.
rapid fire questions for you. First, tell us, who is your favorite saint and why?
Yes, so I just mentioned him actually, Saint Padre Pio. I don't think I can pick just one reason, but I love that he was so amazing and he suffered so intensely, like especially when I was still suffering myself. He was a role model to me because even amidst his suffering, he would go to the confessional for like 16 hours a day. Now, we're not all called to do that, of course, but he still showed up and did his duty to God. And my view of him is that despite his suffering, despite physically being attacked by the devil, he still brought Christ into every situation that he was in. So I just find him to be a very inspiring saint.
Yes, thank you. I got to visit where he lived this summer when we were in Italy,
Oh,
and his cell and different parts of the monastery where he lived. It was really amazing. So I hope you get to go there. The next question is, if you could give one message to Catholic college students about overcoming chronic pain, anxiety, and depression, what would it be?
a very simple, straightforward. Have hope and belief that you will get better because, like I mentioned, self compassion is a very healing antidote. That hope that you will be able to heal, that is literally a healing chemical cocktail to your body. It literally hits you on a physiological piece, but also a mindset piece, a spiritual piece. It hits all of them. Hope is such an impactful emotion. And God designed the body to heal. And so when we have hope that, like, yes, I can heal, that even if it's a spark of hope or even a mustard seed size, you can work with that. I literally thought I was going to die in pain and I did not look forward to the rest of my life, but I had hope like maybe this course will be different. And in 30 days, it completely changed my life. So have hope and belief that you can and will get better.
Amazing. And last question is, how can people reach you if they would like to learn more about your coaching services?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at Catholic Life Coaching, all one word. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn at Heidi Kennedy. And then I also have an email if you want to reach out there, Heidi at HeidiKennedy.co. Yeah, I would love to connect with you and hear from you. If you listen to this podcast, what you got from it, I would love to hear from you. And then for your listeners, Virginia, I'd love to share. I have a free resource. It's the 7 steps to heal from chronic pain, anxiety, and depression. This is taken from my backstory. This is really transformational, helpful, tactical, practical, actionable, all the great stuff. So I will leave that link with you in the show notes. And then also for your listeners, if they just want to have a free 30-minute coaching call, get to know me, ask questions, resources, anything like that, I'll provide those links as well. So you can have a free 30-minute coaching call to look at what do you need help with in your life? Are you struggling with chronic pain, anxiety, depression? How can we help you overcome that? So, yeah, I would love to connect with any and everybody.
Thank you so much. That is amazing. I really appreciate you sharing that with our listeners. So please take advantage of that, folks. This is a great opportunity. Thank you so much, Heidi. I really enjoyed hearing your story. And I hope maybe one day we can have you back on the podcast because you're
Thank
just going to go on to do amazing things. I just know it. So thank you again
thank
for
you
being
so
part of this.
thank you so much, Virginia. I really appreciate it.
Welcome. So, my listeners, if you enjoyed this podcast episode and you are wanting to give it a 5-star rating and share it with your friends, I really appreciate your helping to spread the word about the podcast. Until next time, my friends, Mary, untie her of knots, pray for us. God bless you.